Okay, so I'm going to start the recording. Okay, get my chat window back up here. I really need to put Ice Chat over here. I think it would be simpler. Well, my laptop screen is a lot smaller than my desktop screen, so I don't know how I'd fit everything on so I could see. Okay, is the sound all right and everything? Oh, Katie? Oh. Yeah, it would help if you plugged them in. Yep, that would be good. Well, happy Friday, everybody. It's November 18th, and we're going to have bead class today. Learn the peyote stitch, even count, and we're going to make a bracelet, or we're going to start to make a bracelet. But first I want to do some little show and tell while I'm waiting for people to gather. And I think I'll start with my bag I got from Jet Pens. And I've got my camera zoomed way out so you can see this thing. This is a messenger bag and got it at jetpens.com. Thanks to Les Herger. She tweeted about it. And I went to the site and oh, I just love this thing. Oh my gosh. This is wonderful. It has pockets everywhere. Pocket on the front flap. Nice zipper pocket. And it's got, when you open it up, it's got two huge pockets here in the front. And it does have Velcro in lots of places, but I don't like that much Velcro, so I've kind of modified it a bit by covering parts of the Velcro with spare Velcro, so it doesn't make all that racket, because, I mean, Velcro is noisy, right? Really noisy. So I kind of modified it and covered up some of the Velcro. Okay, the main part is really, really wide on the inside. You can fit a small laptop in there. My iBook will fit in there. Not that I'm going to carry it around. So that's the main compartment, and then that in front of that's another zipper pocket. So it has lots of room for journals, magazines, and whatever you use to carry around. And what I really like are all these pockets in the back. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's another big pocket. More journal can go in there. All right. And here's another pocket here. Okay. And it's got this really nifty keyring clip. So you can put your keys in there. I don't even have to carry a purse when I carry this thing. And I've covered the Velcro. See right here, I've covered the Velcro. I don't know if you can tell, with another piece of Velcro so it doesn't catch, except right here. So I'm going to tuck the keys back there and leave that so the keys will stay in the corner and not mess with whatever's over here. Okay. And it has another loop right here. You can put something on if you want to, like a pen or something. And then in front of that, there's three big pockets. So here's three big pockets here. And I've already got my small set of colored pencils. These are short Crayola. They came in a big set. You can see there's quite a few pencils there. And I've got one of my pencil extenders in there with it. So I'll carry that around, and they fit perfectly in that pocket. I haven't put much else. I haven't put anything else in here yet. I haven't had time. And there's a big pocket space here. Here's another zipper pouch right there, and then another big pouch over here. Tons and tons of pockets. I mean, my goodness. And on the sides here, there are two of these elastic mesh pockets. So you can put your cell phone in one and your water bottle in the other, or whatever. Or in my case, my Diet Dr. Pepper bottle. Can go in there. The strap is totally adjustable every which way but loose. It's just marvelous. So I love this thing. I mean, I can't wait to use it. This is going to be great when I take Grand Girl 1 to her cheer practice and have to wait for her. This would be great to have all of my art supplies right here. It'd be terrific, because I have to sit there for 3 hours and wait for her. So, good thing to have. I love this thing. Oh, it's called, it's Wise Walker. I guess you can see that. But if you want the numbers or anything, you'll have to tweet me, and I'll get it for you. Give you the link. But it's a great bag. I just love this thing. Okay, and many of you know that yesterday I went to an arts and crafts show here in town. It's a yearly event, and there's all kinds of, you know, Christmas decorations up, and it was just beautiful. Huge, huge Christmas tree right in the middle of the whole thing. It's gorgeous, and decorations everywhere, and then of course booths of stuff. Okay, so what I got, mostly food, strangely enough. I don't know what's up with that, but I went for the mostly food. I don't know, maybe I was hungry. I don't know. But, oh, this basket I got last month at another kind of art sale. So that's a really cool double basket. I'm going to put my markers in it. Right now it's holding my food. So let me see if I can explain. I got some soup mixes. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh, I can't see. There we go. Gorgeous. This one is called 11 Bean Soup. And this is the Frontier Soups Company. I'd never seen them before, but their stuff tasted good. And gorgeous packaging. These make great gifts too. But we're going to eat this. Okay. And this is another one from them. It's potato leek soup. That got good reviews. Everything is in here except the broth. And if you want to add like chicken or something. You know, I thought maybe we'd use you know, leftover turkey, because we always have leftover turkey. And then another soup from them is vegetable soup. And well, I guess you see big bay leaf. Turn it around. There we go. You can see all the goodies in the bag. So everything is here except for the chicken stock and the, or vegetable broth, whatever you want to use. So these are gorgeous, and they smell really good. And this is from a company called Company's Comin'. You can see that right there. There's their website. All right. And Campbell's. This one does chicken Alfredo casserole mix. Love this. It tasted really, really good. So there's the mix in there. And a cute little bag, which will get recycled into something. And then I got some beef jerky from this company, myjerkycentral.com, and this is delicious. They had, oh, they had like 15 flavors at least. There you go. Wow, this is really good. And then I got some pork tenderloin, which I get every year, and some dried beef sticks, which I like. This is all good stuff. It's good straight protein, no carbs, straight protein, and I can carry, you know, beef jerky and beef sticks around with me and not have to worry about refrigeration, and get pure protein when I need it. Oh, and it's a cute little basket. See, little double basket. And I have her name somewhere. She's a local artist as well. Isn't that cute? Gonna have all my markers in here. Well, maybe not all of them, but a good bit. Okay, and let's see what else. Oh, I got some dips. Dip mixing, more food. Okay, so tomato basil. And this stuff, oh, delicious. Oh, here's the website if you are interested in checking this out. Focusing would be good. There we go. Holding it straight would be better. Alright, tomato basil, dill wonder. It has all the stuff in here, and all you add is sour cream. One cup sour cream, 1 cup mayonnaise, the mix, and chill 1 to 2 hours or overnight. Everything else is in here, and these are delicious. Oh, and the spinach dip is really good. Delicious. We're having company next week, so we're going to try some of this stuff out. Okay. Oh, now the room smells like dill and spices. Yum. Okay, now I got this thing. Alright, this next thing is really cute. I could not resist. It's, of course, a fuzzy critter. But she's really, really cute. Let me see how to turn it. There we go. Now you can see her. There she is. All right. So it's a vintage. Well, she's not vintage, but she's a vintage look uh, of an old child's pool toy. And she doesn't have a name yet. She hasn't told me. But her fur is distressed. And right now she has a little bit of glitter on her from everything else. And here's her little face. She has little wheels on her little, I don't know what, it's not exactly a wagon. I don't know what you'd call this. But it's like a pool toy kind of thing. But it's distressed and it looks vintage and I just love her. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and show you some beadwork. Before we'll get started in just a few minutes. People usually trickle in slowly. Wait for folks to get here. Okay, so let me show you some of the possibilities, okay? All right. This is one of my little setups, so I guess I can show you this too. This is a, well, let me close it before I knock everything over. This is if you go to like Academy Sports or Sports and whatever that other one's called, they carry gun cases. So this is like a pistol case, okay? And what I've done, this is supposed to be, you know, top, but that's not how I use it. This is my bottom because one of the sections is deeper than the other, so I like to use the deeper section as the bottom. So what I do, and I've drawn on it, and I've got feathers drawn on it and stuff. So when you open it up, this is my basic bead setup when I travel, and even here at home. I mean, traveling from one room to the other, or you know, moving from one chair to another or something. I've still got the setup. But I've taken the foam and turned it over. Now, when you get it, it comes where this is the egg crate part is up, because you're supposed to put your gun inside. You know, you're supposed to put your pistol in here. So what I've done is I turn it over, so I've got the smooth sides out. I pin the pattern to this side of the foam, or I keep the pattern back here. Pattern notes, whatever, post-it notes usually. And then I've got a tray that I work from. Okay, so this is a piece of fun foam, and what it does, it keeps whatever is on my tray from moving. Sometimes this foam has divots in it, and there's like big air holes where there was like air holes, and the little beads will get stuck in there. So the fun foam keeps that from happening, so you don't have little beads falling all over the place. So it keeps it in the tray. So what this tray is, let me take the bead part out. All right, so I can hold it up here. Okay, so what this is a piece of leather on a saucer. Okay, oh, this is going to be hard to do with my mitts on. Okay, let me remove the mitts, or else I'm going to have beads everywhere. Even though my hands are a little cold today. All right, so let me get the beads. All right, see how easy they come off into your hand. Okay, so the tray is a plastic saucer, okay, and it did not have a bump on the inside. So it's like a dessert tray or dessert saucer or something, but there's no divots on the inside. It's totally smooth and rounded. So it's shaped like a saucer. Let me see if I can get the right angle so you can, okay, there you can see it's a saucer, okay, and this one is plastic, and it cost me 10 cents at the garage sale. And I put a piece of leather, I glued a piece of leather down to it, all right, and just cut around it. And this is my favorite bead surface, okay, it's suede leather. It's not too bumpy, it's pretty smooth, but it keeps the beads from rolling around too much. So if I'm tossing beads, you see how they don't go, well, I guess you can't see, my hand's in the way, but they don't go very far, and they'll spread out. And there's a broken bead. Hello, let's remove that. So then when you pick them up, see they're not moving very far. Normally they'd be, you know, gone. So it's a lot easier to pick up a bead off of this suede leather. And I know you probably can't see that, but trust me, it's easier. Okay, so that's my setup for that. This right here is a cuff bracelet. It's about 2 inches wide. Grab my thread here. And I know I don't have the camera in the right place because I'm going to move it here in a few minutes. But this bracelet is what we're going to learn today, the same stitch we're going to learn today, except it's made with triangle beads. There, focus, thank you. Takes a while. Sometimes, I don't know if you can actually see those are triangles. Yeah, I guess you can. Okay, but you see the bumpy texture. I mean, this is marvelous. Okay, and it's you know, simple to do. It's not real difficult. It is very time consuming, which I don't mind at all because I do needlepoint. I make bobbin lace, so you know that doesn't bother me at all. But this is not going to be a beadwork show and tell today. I'm just showing you some simple things that, you know, would be possible. So the beads are triangles. Let me see if I can get one to the camera. I guess I have to bring the bracelet with me. Okay, I don't know if you can even see if we're going to focus on this. There you go. There, I think you can see that it's a triangle. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of wanting to focus. It's hard. Beadwork is difficult to photograph, let me tell you. So it's a little triangle bead. And I think these are a size 8. Yes, these would be a size 8. So the 8s are larger. Okay. All right, so that's one of my basic setups. I put the thread, there's a pin in the corner, and I'll put my Nymo thread on that. I have a little rubber puller. If my needle gets stuck, I just grab this out of the corner and just use it to pull the needle out. And then on the side, I've cut out a divot in the foam so that I can put supplies over here, like, you know, tubes of beads, extra thread, the marker to mark my pattern, you know, all the little accessories. Little bead scoop. This is really cute. Little bead scoop. And some other pieces of beadwork that are not finished yet. This is square stitch. Looks like loom work, but except you do it bead by bead. Pull that up here so you can see it. And if you'll notice on this, if it'll focus, oh, these are shiny. It's not wanting to look at it. Okay, there we go. That's better. If you'll see, the beads are lined up straight across. Peyote stitch is not like this. This is called square stitch. You do it at like you would loom work. Okay, so it looks like loom work, but you don't have all those ends to mess with. That's why I prefer using square stitch. And yes, this is my design as well. This is going to be a hair barrette. Okay, and I have a little starter strip in here. And a little test piece, a little piece I was testing colors. But there's all, you know, you got this little space over here, and of course I save all the other pieces of foam, and it gets used elsewhere. But that's my basic bead setup. And when I'm okay, so this is off. It's over here. This is in my lap. I'm working. Okay, I get called into the doctor's office. Okay, so everything gets put down. Stick the needle in the foam so it's anchored, put the foam on, close it, latch it, and away I go. And I did not invent this idea. I do not remember where I got this from. At a bead convention, I probably saw somebody set up at a bead convention. So, but this is the best setup. I just love this. And I've got like 6 or 8 of these boxes. I think I have 8. One is my granddaughter's, but neither here nor there. Okay, so that is a basic setup, and I'll show you another one in a minute. Now this box, this has my freeform peyote in it. Let's see. Okay, it's going to be hard for it to focus, but I'm going to try anyway. Okay, freeform peyote is simply as it states. It's freeform. It's you do it however you feel. It's kind of like art journaling. Okay, when we're working in our art journals, we're just doing whatever we feel, and this is the same kind of thing. Okay, I'm also working in pieces. All right, so that's one piece, and here's another, and this is going to be a display piece. I won't actually wear this, but it's going to be a necklace when it's done, and it's going to be a display piece. But I'm putting all kinds of stones and some pieces of shell and some pearls and of course all kinds of beads, different sizes of beads. And this is, whoops, this is kind of the end where the button is going to go when it's done. And then of course it works from here, it works around the neck. And this piece will attach on this side like so. But I call this my Baroque piece because it kind of looks old. You know, I love vintage stuff, so that's kind of what's going on with this. And then I've got a little container where my bead soup is. So these are going to be used into it. And then this is kind of a leaf shape I was playing with. But freeform is just that. It's freeform. You just go wherever. And once you learn the peyote stitch and you get the idea down, you can do this. And here's a pack of shells, different pieces of shell. And then I have another tray, bead tray. So this one has, you can see all the different sizes of the beads that I have in here. There's 11s, there's 13s, there's 6s, there's 8s, there's just all different sizes in the compartments. And this tray is one of the Chinese watercolor trays. I love these things. I've got a whole bunch of those too. But when I'm working on a large project like this, this is great because it has a lot of compartments. And there again, oh, and I usually keep scissors. I don't know how many pairs of scissors I have. Lost count a long time ago. Thread, extra needles, and all that kind of stuff. And there's no pattern for this, so you know that's not needed. But there's another box with projects in it. And I got one more, and then we'll start class. Okay, so here is another setup. All right. And this is a project we're going to do today. So I've got that in here. But here's another one of the watercolor trays. All right. And there are, you know, different beads in the compartments. Of course, I got more than one project in the box. This is, I've shown this before, and I've shown the bag, finished bag. And this is another one. Oops, this is a cat's pattern. This is will be the front. This is the back. There's a bracelet that matches. No, you can't work on, you don't have to work on one thing at a time. No. And no, you don't worry about carrying the gun case, except if you don't want to carry it in the airport. You have to open it in the airport to show them what you have. And you can't take your scissors. So you'll have to be careful with that. Take a thread cutter instead. You can trim threads later. So this is done in a tubular or circular peyote. So tubular peyote, and yes, this is a toilet paper tube. And if we like bead class, we may go into this one day. But anyway, this will make a little pouch necklace. Okay, so let's get on with bead class. Okay, so this is what we're making today. Here's the bracelet. Come on, camera. There you go. All right, so there's the basic heart pattern. You can see the repeat. There's 2 repeats in the camera right now. All right. And it's not quite an inch wide, but this is using delicas, the Japanese delicas. Okay. This is using number 11 seed beads. Oh dear. All right, we got a problem here. Okay. There we go. And let me put the 2 side by side while the camera is focused. There we go. So there's a little bit of a size difference. And a definite difference in the consistency of the beads. That's why I like delicas. It looks like needlepoint tapestry. It's just wonderful. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's see, let me put that one over here. Get some of these loose threads out of the way. All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to change the camera angle and set it here so that it looks like you guys are in my lab. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it. Okay, let me talk about the pattern for a second. Okay, if you guys have gone to my blog, you've downloaded the pattern, and here's the pattern. All right, it's really simple. This is just an indication of the length you might get, but it's basically only 2 repeats. Okay, well actually it's only like 1 repeat. All right, so this is like your repeat. 2 hearts and the little arrows on the sides. That's your basic repeat. And you just do it as long as you need. Okay? Alright, so what we're going to do is, usually when I've got a pattern like this, I've made a copy for working, and I cut it apart, and I labeled the top. Okay, let me see if I can get that in there without glare. There we go. 1 and 2, so I don't get mixed up, because this part gets worked down here. So you get the whole length of the bracelet. Okay, you got the idea. All right. Okay, Dee Dee's not going to bead, she's going to watch. Okay, she's going to cuddle up with Pandora. Okay. All right, that sounds good. Okay, so what we're going to do is start from scratch. We're not going to worry about the starter strip at the moment. I will explain that in a little bit. But we're going to work as if we know absolutely nothing. So let's start from there. All right, let me get the camera set. All right. And we're going to take a little trip. So hold on and don't get dizzy. We're moving the camera and getting really up close and personal here with my bead case. Trying to go slow. Hello, Pandora. Okay, now I'm going to do a little adjusting here. Okay, let me see if I got that just about right. Hello, big hands. Okay, that's going to work, I think. All right, now I'm going to have to move the bead case because I'm not going to be able to, it's going to get in the way when I'm trying to show you, because the camera's going to want to focus and refocus, and it's going to drive us crazy. So I'm going to move the box. Whee! So I'm going to lose my pen cushion. Get a balance point here. Okay. I'm going to lose my cushion. All right. But I am going to bring a tray over. Okay, here comes the tray. All right. Now I'm going to start big to show you because it's easier to see with something really big. Okay, so let me see if I can put this in the background, if that's going to, I'll see what that's going to do. I don't know. Okay, so here are my tubes of beads, and these are These are delicas, but they're large delicas, okay? So for teaching, okay, so it looks like you guys are in my lap and the camera's working all right. Okay, so, oh, miniature bottle needle holder when you don't have a pin cushion. All right. What I've got here is a tapestry needle because these beads are large. Oh, let me see. I've got the wrong size tapestry needle. Oh, yeah, this one's way too big. Okay, hang on a second. Wrong needle. Just bring these over here. You can see there's two sizes here. Oops. I don't know which one is going to fit. Okay, that one, oops, that one seems to work, but this might be better with the thread on it. Okay, let me try this one. Move that guy. Okay, so an easy way to thread a needle. People have a lot of trouble with this. Okay, let me move my little bottle. That back there. Move that. Okay. First of all, you don't want to have a frayed end, so you want to snip the very tip of your thread so you have a nice end to work with. And what I like to do is sneak up on the thread. So I pull the thread into my thumb and index finger and I close my fingers on it so you don't see it. All right. And then you take the eye of your needle and you're going to sneak up on the thread and wiggle it a little bit. Now I'm at a strange angle, so it's not going to, I'm trying to get it so you can still see. But you kind of sneak up on it and open your fingers as you go. And of course this is not bead thread, it's pearl cotton, so it's going to be a little more difficult for me to do, especially at this angle. Alright, so anyway, that's the way I'll thread. And this isn't working as well because, like I said, it's pearl cotton and not bead thread. Okay, let's try that again. Make another snip. And I'm going to have to try doing it from down here. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll never get it threaded if I don't do it the way I need to. And if I'm too loud, let me know, because I'm right on top of the microphone. Okay, now this needle is not going to work with this thread. Let me try the middle one. I think that one still went through. Okay, it may not with the thread, but we'll try. Okay, so I'm going to sneak up on it and get it in there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Nope. Okay, teacher's having trouble here. Not the right materials or the right angle. Sneak, sneak. No. Now, it should not take 5 minutes to thread the needle. There we go. All right. So, needle is threaded. Let's see if it'll go through the bead. Okay, we got it. All right. So, what I like to do is when I have... Oh yeah, you need to look at the chat. All right. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. Okay, I like to put what I call a stopper bead on the end. And I'll use like 36 inches of thread, because the more, ends you have, the more hassle it is, of course. Okay, so peyote stitch is like a zipper. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. And if you look at the pattern, let me sneak the pattern in here. If you look at the top of the pattern, let's see if we're going to focus. Oh, we're focusing on the bracelet. Okay, moving the bracelet. All right, there we go. Okay, if you look at the top of the pattern, I need a pointer. Didn't think about that. All right, let me get a pen. Let me get a big pen so I can hold on to it. Okay. Oh, this, by the way, is an old Lifesavers container. I love these things. They're marvelous. All right. Let's look at the pattern. Okay, peyote stitch, even count. All right. Now, if you look at the pattern, it looks like a zipper. Here's a down bead. Here's an up bead. Down bead, an up bead. Down bead, and an up bead. And it's that way throughout the pattern. So a row consists of the up beads. This is a row. There's 6 beads on that row. The next row is down. Well, it looks like a down bead. All right. Okay. But here's a bead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 beads on that row. Okay. Has everybody got that? What are you guys talking about over there? Okay. For those watching the recording, the chat is being weird. Okay. So I'm reading the chat right now. But I'm not going to repeat it. So I don't know what's going on over there. Okay. So basically what this means when you're going to start a bracelet is you need 12 beads. Okay. There are 6 beads on the first row, 6 beads on the second row. Okay. Now what I do when I want to mark my pattern, I usually use a pen to pierce a hole where I've been. Okay, so if I have a piece of foam, which here I can use one of my ink sponges, that was handy, to pierce a hole in the 12 beads. So pierce the first row, and I'll show you that in a second closer. So I'm piercing a hole in all the beads on the first row. Okay, so I've made a hole. There you go, you can see that. I've made a hole. That's why I did my lighting this way. So you can see that. Okay, now I'm going to pierce the beads on the second row. So that was 6, and now we're going to count 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I have marked my second row. Okay, and you can see that I've got holes in the second row. Okay, now, okay, you guys. Oh gosh, don't distract the teacher. Okay, so this is my first and second row, and these are the beads we're going to thread onto the thread first. Okay, so I'm going to set this pattern like that, I think, and I'm going to put my pen in the jar because I'm going to need that in a minute. All right, so what you want to do is since the pattern to start the bracelet on the end is solid for a little ways before we do any pattern, all right, we're going to thread on 12 beads. Well, let's put a stopper on first, okay? Let's put a stopper bead on here. Now, usually I will put a totally different bead as a stopper, but I've only got these 2 colors out right now, so we're just going to go with what we have. So I'm going to use one of the darker beads. Since the lighter is going to be the background, I'm just going to tie on. Since this is not going to be used, this bead is going to be cut off. It's not going to be used. This is just to keep all the beads from falling off. Okay, so I've just tied a stopper bead onto the end of the thread. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to thread on 12 beads because this is the first row and the second row. 3, I guess you guys can't see that. 4, 5, 6. So that would be row 1's beads. And 1, 2, 3, 4. These are big beads. It's a little awkward. 5, 6. Okay. So I've got my beads now. So I'm going to run them all the way down till I'm almost to the tail. And what I like to do when I start a pattern. Let me move my pattern over so you can see better. Okay, so what I like to do, I have my stopper bead there, and I like to loop the thread around my ring finger and hold on to it like so. So the stopper bead is helping hold that around my ring finger so I can work a little easier. All right, now I'll bring the rest of the beads down into my working area. Okay, like so. And notice how I'm holding the thread as I work. It's important that you have good tension. You don't want to strangle it, but you need to have good tension, so you want to have everything kind of taut. Okay? All right, so what we're doing, we're going to add row 3 now. And on our pattern, row 3 is still the same background color. Okay? So, you're going to pick up one bead. All right? And you're going to go into the second bead. All right? You've got one bead on the needle. You're going to go into the second bead from the end of your strung on beads. Okay? And I close on that. I hold it like so and pull my needle through. Pull the thread down. And what I've got is a little triangle. Okay, focusing. All right, let me move things in the background. The camera wants to focus on whatever's in the background. Okay, let's try this and see if that will help. All right, there we go. Okay, much better. All right, so I have a little triangle. Okay, so there's 3 beads there. So what we have is row 1, 2, and 3. Okay, row 1, row 2, and row 3. So that's what we're doing. This is the start. This is not using the helper. This is the basic peyote whenever you want to start something and do not have a starter strip available. Okay. Fran wants to know, does it matter on what end of the pattern we start? No, it does not. You can start on either end of the pattern, and you can go right or left to start with. It really doesn't matter on something like this. When you're doing a bag, it does. When you're doing tubular peyote, it does matter. But right now, this does not. You can start on either end and work the pattern down, work the pattern up. It doesn't really matter. Okay? All right. So we've got our first 3 beads, and we're still holding everything taut. We're going to pick up another bead. So this is the second bead of row 3. All right. We're going to skip a bead and go into the second bead, like so. Hold everything down, pull your thread through. This helps keep your beads in line. It also keeps your thread from tangling, because it will. All right, and you have to work it a little bit. See how it gets a little wonky. So this is the stage that everybody hates because it's getting started and everything goes wonky. So you just work with it a little bit until you get them all lined up, like this. So you've got 2 beads, 1 bead, 2 beads, and 1 bead. Okay, and this will be all the way across the row. So we're going to pick up another bead. We're going to skip one and go into the second one. Cover everything with your fingers, pull your thread through slowly and steadily. All right, work with it a little bit till you get it where you want it. Okay, it should look like this. And keep hold of everything. All right, now we're going to do the same thing. So I'll bring up 2 more beads, pick up a bead on the needle, skip one, go into the second, clamp down on everything, pull it through slow and steady, because if you jerk that nylon thread, it's going to tangle. Okay, and I'll show you the starter strip in just a little bit. Let's get through this first row here. Let's get this started. Let's pick up another bead, skip 1 bead, go through the second one, I know these clear beads are not the easiest to see, but I figured you could see a thread trail through them if I hold it up to the light just right. So we're going to try the clear beads. Okay, like this. All right, and I've got 2 more beads, and then I'll have the first 3 rows finished. So pick up another bead, skip 1 bead, go through the second bead. Okay, can everybody see this okay? Is this working all right? I mean, you guys are sitting in my lap, so you know, let me know if this is working all right. Pull through. Whoops. Pull through. Now my nose is going to run. Oh, good. Okay. So there we have our first 3 rows. Okay, good. I have to get used to the lag. I keep forgetting. I have to wait for you guys to respond to things for, a little bit. All right, so here is our first 3 rows, and let me show you these on the graph. Put that down. Put that graph back over here. Okay, so what we've just done is added, all right, we have added, let's see, oh, let me show you through the light. See, there's 2 rows are pierced, and we just added the 3rd row. So here's what we want to do. Then we want to come back and pierce the 3rd row beads, so we know where we have been. Okay, simple enough. Now you can see all 3 rows, just like this. Up beads, down beads, zipper. All right. And it looks just like this. Okay. Thank you, Ketsia. Yes, we're having a little allergy problem. Okay. Now, I still like to hold on to that tail while I'm doing the next row. Okay, so I put that back around my ring finger and keep holding on to everything. Okay, now we're going to work back across the other way. Okay, we're over here on this end, and this is even count peyote, so it's an easy turn. All right, so we're going to work back this way. Now we're going to work this way. Okay, that way. So here is my end. I just put this bead on. Okay, and I'm still working solid color according to the pattern. So I've got another bead on the needle, and I'm going to go right here into that first up bead. Can y'all see that? That first up bead is where I'm going to put my needle. All right, and I'm going to hold everything down and pull through. Okay, and if I can keep it still for a second. All right, there's the bead I just put on, and there's the one I went through, so you can see the thread coming out. Okay, so if you pay attention to where the thread is coming out, you'll be able to tell where you are when you put your work down. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to hold that thread back again, pick up another bead, go through these next up bead. Okay? Clamp down, pull through slow and steady, not to get any knots. Snug it down where it's supposed to be, and there it is. Alright? So what is happening is here's an up bead, here's an up bead. The next bead is snugging in right here and nesting right there in that space. And this goes with any beads you use. You have the same thing. Alright, so the next bead is going to nest right in here. So I'm going into the next up bead, and that bead is going to snug right into that space. Okay, and we're just going to keep doing the same thing. And you notice how I'm holding on to the thread. I don't let it loose. I'm holding on to the beadwork and the thread, doing the same thing all the way across for 6 beads. because this pattern is a total of 12 beads across, but we're working with 6 beads on each row. So we're doing the same thing. Snugging them all in there, holding onto the thread, and one more on the end. Go through the last up bead. Off the finger, thank you. All right, so there's row 4. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my graph, and I'm going to pierce row 4. And I'm doing the whole row, I'm piercing a whole row at a time. Normally, if I have a multicolored pattern, I would be piercing like 2 or 3 beads at a time, maybe even 1, and then leaving my needle in the last bead I worked. So that if I stop, I put it down, I go do something, I come back, I'll know exactly what I've just done. Okay? Okay, so I've just done the last bead on row 4. Now it looks like I have, and let me count this so you can see how many rows of solid color we're going to have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's 5 more rows before I encounter a dark bead. Okay? Alright, so that's where I have been. I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to do another solid row. And I'm going to work a little faster this time, because you guys are going to get really tired of this if I just keep doing solid beads. Put out some more. And I don't put out too many at a time if I'm, working like this, because I'm, I don't have my kit, so I can't just close it and walk away. All right. Okay. So I worked this way. Now, as you work, you'll have to, this is your own personal preference as to which direction you work and which direction you hold. Okay. So the next thing, I'm going to work up and down on the camera so you can see another position to hold your work. All right, so pull that down so I can get a good grip on it. All right, straighten it out. Okay, so my thread is coming out. You can see the bead that my thread is coming out of. So my next bead is going to fit right here. Okay, this will be the first bead of the 5th row. All right, so I'm still got a grip on the thread and grip on the beadwork. I'm picking up another bead. All right, so here is my up bead. This is the one that sticks out. Okay, the next bead you go into is the one that sticks out. So I'm going to work toward myself, like so. I'm still holding on to everything. The thread is sliding through my fingers. It doesn't tangle, we hope. All right. Hold the thread down, and I'm going to go a little faster so you can see where I'm at here. But I need to work a little faster because this is going to get really boring. And we're going to pretend we're going to start a pattern row here in a minute, since this is not actually going to be a bracelet. This is just my teaching piece. Okay, still going. Now if this is too fast, let me know. Okay. I haven't taught beading in quite a while. Okay, so there's my row. And if you want to, when you have a pattern that's symmetrical, you can always work toward yourself. But when you have a pattern that's not symmetrical, you want to work toward yourself and then away from yourself. So you don't have to keep flipping your pattern. Okay? Oh, sorry, Fran. Okay, so I've done another row. Alright, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark this row. Okay, pierce all across that row. 6 beads. Okay, now I'm going to pretend that we've just done that last row. So I'm going to go ahead and pierce them over here, just so I can keep track of where the pattern is. Okay, and you guys can see. Okay, so that last row I've just pierced. Okay, we'll pretend I've already gotten to that point. All right, so there's that row is all the same color bead. The next row, however, has a pattern bead in it. Okay, so now we're going to be using a dark bead. So this row, all right, there's 1, 2 white beads and 1 dark bead. Okay, so let's get to this point. Let's pierce 1, 2, and pierce the dark bead and leave our needle there. Okay, it's easy to keep up with 3 beads. If you try going more than that and you get interrupted, you're gonna get messed up. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm still holding because I really don't have a whole lot to work with here yet. I've got my thread, I've anchored my thread in my fingers. All right, my thumb is working on top. All right, I've got 2 background beads. There's an up bead, I'm going through that one, and I'm working away. Okay, but that's my sticking out bead, so I'm going into that one, and the next bead snugs right down next to that, right on the edge. So there's my bead, my new bead right there. Here's where the next one goes. And the way I'm holding has changed. We're not doing straight across, we're doing up and down. Alright. We are now going vertical. Okay, 1, 2. My third bead's a dark bead. So here comes the dark bead, my first pattern bead. Alright. Here he goes. And that's where he goes. Okay, now let's check the pattern. What do we have next? So we've done light, light, dark. Now on the row, going straight across, light, light, light. Okay, so there's 3, 1, 2, 3 light beads. And I do go ahead sometimes. Something with just 2 colors, you can go ahead. But if you've got a really complicated pattern, you probably don't want to do that. And if you have a household where you have lots of interruptions, like I do, you probably want to go 1 bead at a time, maybe 2. But don't pierce them until you've done them. That's a good tip there. But since I have my sign on the door and son 2 is not going to interrupt me, I'm good. So 3 background beads. Okay, all right. Now we're going to be working back the other direction. Okay, so now we're going to be going back this way toward yourself. All right. So where your thread's coming out, you got to turn around and go the other way. Okay, let's look at the pattern. All right. Next row has 1, 2 light beads, 2 dark beads, and 2 light beads. Now it's easy to keep up with something like this, but let's pretend we're going to get interrupted, all right? So we're going to do 2 beads at a time, and we're not going to pierce them until we're done. So let me set that down. Gather this back up. I've got 2 background beads, all right? 1, and 2. Okay, now I've done those, so I'm going to pierce them. Okay, oh, I'm going to put that down first. All right, so I've got 2, so that's 1, 2. All right, now the next is 2 dark. All right, so we have 2 dark beads. And you notice that the next bead, the next sticking out bead, is a dark one. So you're going into that one. Okay, you see the pattern taking shape. All right, now what we've just done, 2 dark. So let's pierce those. And now we have 2 light. So you pick your piece back up, turn it back the way you want it to go. And, you know, some personal preference as to, you know, which way goes which. I mean, you'll get to that point where you'll just know which way you like to do it. Just remember which side is which on your pattern. Okay, so there's that row. All right, so we've got 1, 2. So now we've done that row. And I don't know what number row it is. It doesn't really matter right now. So there's 2 pattern rows that are done after your solid piece. Okay, so we're going to drop down on the pattern again. And I hope you guys can see this. All right. Yes, Sandy. What's... Did you have a question, Sandy? My name's in all caps, so I'm wondering. Okay, don't see a question. All right. Okay, I'll keep going. Q and a colon if you got a question. All right, next row. All right, let me see. Here is light and 1, 2, 3 dark. Okay, so we're going to pick up the piece and anchor back down and pick up 1 light bead and 3 dark. And as you pick up your beads, you want to check them. You want to make sure that you're not getting one that's too wonky, because that'll make your piece look bad if it's too out of place. So you want to cull your beads, C-U-L-L. You want to cull your beads as you go. Because sometimes you'll get one that's really crooked and make your piece look bad. Okay, so there are my 1, 2, 3 dark beads. I'm going to mark that on the pattern now. 1, 2, 3, and I have 2 light beads left to finish this row. And you can use any kind of sponge. You don't have to use a, but the gun case has the sponge in it, so I mean that just makes it easy. Okay, so there's a wonky bead right there, so I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to put it to the side. We don't want, there's another one. Just so happens. As soon as I say that, I start picking up wonky beads. Okay. And the 2 to finish that row. Okay, so that's your basic peyote. That's how to read a pattern. I'm going to go ahead and pierce the ends like so. Okay, so that's where I'm stopping. Okay, so let me hold this up to the light so you can see where I've pierced. There you go. You can see where I've pierced. And that's mostly how I keep up with my patterns. You make a working copy, and most people will let you make a working copy. They don't want you to make a bunch of copies and sell them, but or give them away. But you know, they'll let you make a working copy, because you don't want to violate anybody's copyrights. That's bad. Okay, so there's a pattern, and that's your basic peyote, your even count peyote. You've seen me hold it. Now I want to work a normal piece so that you can watch me work. Okay. I learn a lot from watching an instructor, because the way they hold things, the way they turn the needle, it has a lot to do with everybody's hands work different. Everybody has a different technique. you want to observe as much as possible. At least I do. That's just the way I do things. I work and figure out my own way of doing things by watching as many people as possible. Oh, this little tray is another. This one was from a doll's tea set. See? Use whatever you got. I don't like to use a heavy tray because, I mean, it's heavy. Okay, so I'm going to work a normal piece. I think I'm going to do the triangle one so you can see how that works. And then I will show you how to use the starter strip. So let me, oh, on the bottom. All right, let me get this box back out. Oh, without having to crash. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me get this out off camera because it's too close. Here comes the tray and the needle and some beads. All right, so I'm gonna put this box down. Whoops. Okay, no crashing. No falling over. All right, I've got a box open back there, so that could be a mess. If you wanted to make, okay. Darcy has a question. Would this be the same idea if you wanted to make leaves or petals, for example? Yes. I don't think you were here, Darcy, when I was showing the freeform peyote. But yes, once you learn the basics of peyote, you can use it to make any shapes that you like. On one of my first videos that I recorded, I was showing my dragon, and on the stands it's a tapestry, and on the stands are leaves, and those are freeform. So yes, you can make flower petals, leaves, circles, squares, whatever you want to do, you can pretty much do with peyote stitch. That's just the way it works. And I don't have, let me see, what do I have? Oh yes, wait a minute, I do. Hang on, just a second. Let me do a little finagling here and move these things around. Okay, let me go ahead and show you the freeform again. Okay. Oops. Camera's down here now. All right. So here is a freeform piece. Well, sort of a rabbit trail. We're at a good stopping point. So this is a freeform piece. And you can see that it's very organic. It's moving all over the place. It's bumpy. It's adding beads in weird places and making a loop over them and starting your peyote and going back. There's lots of techniques to this, and the more you work with peyote, the more you will realize where you can go with it. See how this is nested, a pearl is nested inside this little bump. So yeah. Lots of fun. Lots and lots of fun. But yeah, you can do lots and lots of shapes. This is the other part. I'll try not to go too fast because the camera goes crazy. Okay, so here's another part. So see how that works. And you can add things into it. And of course, the more other stitches you know, the better your freeform. Like if you know brick stitch, if you know square stitch, it all comes in handy. But most of this is peyote. Thanks. Okay. And when you put your box down, always close it. Okay, I bumped the camera just a little bit. Let me put it back slowly. Okay, so what I want to do is work on this bracelet with the triangle bead so you can watch me work if I can stay in the camera. Okay. And depending on whether you like to work toward yourself or away from yourself, is how you hold it. And since this is solid, there's no pattern to it. It doesn't matter which way you go. I mean, you're working the same, with the same beads, doing the same stitch. So this is a cuff bracelet, going to be a cuff bracelet, and it's made with triangle beads. It's got lots and lots of texture. This is the triangles. That's what they do. Okay, and as I work, I roll it up in my hand, and I'm still, see how I'm anchoring that thread? Very important to anchor that thread. Okay, let me do that again. Just anchor that thread in those 3 fingers, and you won't have any problems. Okay, so my thread's getting kind of short, so I will be able to show you how to end off and start a thread, which is a good thing. Okay, now these triangle beads are sort of wonky, so it really doesn't matter when you're doing something like this. It has so much texture to it. Okay, so I'm gonna work like I normally do. I'm not as fast, but I'll try to. So you can see that I've got control of the thread at all times. That's the important thing. Control that thread. So clamp down on it and pull. That's the important thing. Grab your beads. Go for it. So you're still working your zipper stitch, what I call zipper stitch. You're still working it. This is even count. Now you're going to turn around, go the other way. Keep a hold of that thread. Because if you let the thread loose, it is nylon, and yeah, it's going to tangle. So I kind of like to shake the tray, separate the beads a little bit. So like so. Actually, this piece is probably not going to be good to show you how to end. I'll do it on another one. There are tricks to everything. And sometimes I don't physically think about what I'm going to say. I just, as I'm working, I think about it and then just say it. Just happens to work that way for me. Okay, so. And sometimes I will do, and I kind of get brave when I do this, I'll stop, anchor, pick up, before I pull it all the way through, pick up a second bead, go ahead and put it in place, and then I'll pull through. But that's getting into the danger zone of tangling thread, so I don't do that too often, only if I've got a deadline. I prefer to do it one at a time, and yeah, beadwork is time consuming, but it's also very meditative, especially something like this where you're just stitching with one color, not worrying about following a graph or anything. And your freeform, oh, I love doing freeform. I get lost in freeform. It's so much fun. You make your bead soup, get all your combo together, and then just do it. It's great. Okay, so this is how I work. Got control of the thread. And, when you follow a graph, it does take a long time. But doing something like this, let the beads do your design for you. You don't have to worry. I like doing things like this and something complicated so that when I feel like, just stitching, then this is what I work on. So that's thanks, Fran. She says she loves seeing me in my happy place. Okay, so that's how I work. That's your basic even count peyote stitch. And I got a little static going on here. Okay, so I'm going to cover this back up, and I'm going to show you guys now how to start and end a thread. me put this back in the box before something bad happens. Take me just a second here. Hopefully not too loud next to the camera. Okay, close the box. The safe thing to do. Alright, now let me find my other box. Here it is. Okay. And I want to work with a bead tray. Get this out. And get that out and ready. Okay. One tip about the beading thread. This is called NYMO. It's nylon beading thread. Do the triangle beads feel rough on my wrist? No. The edges of the triangle beads that are on your skin or next to your skin are smooth. These you have to watch that when you buy beads. You don't want you have to get good quality beads, in other words. So you have to pay attention. But no, those are delicate triangles and they are very smooth on the parts that are next to your skin. Okay, so when you pull out your thread, I will generally pull out, like I said, about 36 inches to work with. And when I pull the thread out, cut it off, what I do is stretch it. Okay, you want to stretch your thread. So I will wrap around my index finger, pull. Can you hear that? All right. So wrap and pull, and you do that your whole length. You want to stretch it. Okay. Some people will use thread conditioner, and I do that on occasion. It controls the static, so if you have a lot of static, it's going to... Joycey. If you have a lot of static, you might want to use thread conditioner. I do not use beeswax because it is waxy, it is gunky, and I do not like the feel of it. I will use the thread conditioner. Hang on a second. Okay. This right here is called Thread Heaven. Okay, I will use this, and all you do is run your thread just like beeswax. You just lay your thread on there, hold it down, and run it through, and that's all you need to do. It helps you control your static, so your thread doesn't tangle as much. And yeah, you will get knots, so don't be disillusioned, but you will get knots. Just when you get a knot, don't keep pulling. When you have a knot, stop. Just put on the brakes. Be loosey-goosey, and you'll get it out better and faster. Okay, so there's my thread lesson. All right, now let's see if we can't do some ending and starting, okay? Now what do I do with my little sample? Oh, there it is. I took it out of the box because it had threads everywhere. Okay, so here's my little sample. And I'm going to thread a bead needle as soon as I find one. There we go. Okay, bead needles are nice and long. I'm going to need my glasses for these. These are a little bit smaller. Put on the glasses. Okay, and here's the sneaking up on the bead thread. Pinch. See how easy that is? It's a little more difficult with that big thread. Okay, and you can see where I'm at here on this little sample. I've done 2 beads on that row. Are we focusing? No, we're focusing on the dish. Alright, moving dish. Moving everything behind. No focusing back there. Alright. Be good, camera. Okay. There we go. Alright, so I've got 2 beads on that row. And let's say my thread is running short. Okay. So what I want to do is see where I'm coming out. Okay. I'm going to go into that bead right there. Okay, here's where I'm coming out. going into that bead right there. Now watch what happens to the thread when I pull. Okay, oops, I'm going to get tangled. Alright, watch the thread. Boop, disappears. Now you see where the thread's coming out. Okay, what you want to do is when you are ending or starting a thread is pay attention to the diagonal. Okay, so you don't want to go into this bead. Well, let me see. Okay, you can see where the thread's coming out. You do not want to go into this bead straight across because your thread would show on top. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is go diagonally. Now when I end, I do not go into a bunch of beads diagonally like so. No, no. That's not what you want to do. Okay, so you're coming out right here. I want to go into the next diagonal bead down like so. Pop. Then I want to go into the diagonal bead up from there, or on the next row. Then I want to go into the down diagonal again, just through one bead. And you do this one bead at a time. If you try to do more than one bead, you're going to get knots, and you're also not going to have a pretty end. Okay, so now I'm coming out of the down bead, now I'm going into the up bead. So essentially what you're doing, let me get a piece of paper and a pen and show you on my graph what the thread's doing. Okay, so what the thread is doing is this. So you've come out right here. Oops, pen doesn't want to write. Hello. Okay, so you're coming out right here. You're going into the diagonals like so. And let me show you that close up in just a second. Let me finish. Oh, well, I didn't have to go all the way across, but okay. You can see where I've drawn. So you're going across the row so that when you hold your beadwork up to the light, you're not going to be able to tell where you are starting and ending your thread. And you're not going to have any accidental thread showing. If you went totally diagonal like that, there's a chance that you're going to have a stray thread showing. Now you can do it this way, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, this is neater and it has a better appearance. Okay, so what I like to do is go 3 directions. So I'll go one way, drop down, do the next row the same way, drop down, and do another row. And they're not even, I'm staggering. Okay, I'm staggering how, where I choose to turn. Okay, so let me do that and explain it visually with the needle and the beads. Okay, so I have come across, and now I've come across this way. Right now I want to go that way. Okay, so, and I do not go to the end, because if you do it on the edge, you're going to have extra threads on the edge. It's going to be thick, and you're going to be able to tell that you did that, that you ended. Okay, so you don't want to go all the way to the edge. Okay, so here's my thread. Can you see where it's coming out? Okay, it's the second bead from the edge. All right, now I'm going to drop down. I'm not going to do diagonal. I'm going, okay, here's where I came out. And you see where the needle is going, I hope. Okay, so that means the thread is going to go straight down. There, into that next bead, okay? Straight down. Okay, now I'm going to do the diagonal again. So I'm going to do the up, the down, and the up, Okay. And now I'm not going to go back to where I was. Now I'm going to go back one more time. I'm going to go back that way. All right. So I'm going to go straight down again, and I'll show you this in a second. Okay, you see where the needle is? You see where the thread is coming out? That means the thread is going to go straight down between those two beads, like so. That's kind of dark. Well, okay, let me pull it, and you can see. Okay, here it goes. There it goes. It went straight down. And then one more time, I'm going to do a diagonal. And it doesn't matter if you do an up or down. Just be consistent with one. Go back to the same place you just came from. Okay, and then one more time. And then that's really all you need to do. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to get really complicated. Okay, and what I will do as I'm working, I will not trim this tail really close. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're working your piece, you can't see where you've just ended. You can't really see it. So if you are working in more threads, you've got to have this tail out here so you can tell if you're pulling and this tail starts pulling in or it gets tangled or something, you can hold on to this tail and make sure you're not interrupting what you've already done. You don't want to undo that. So when you're finished with your piece and you get past this point, you can trim it off later. You can trim it close later. But you want to have like 1.5 inches or so tail sticking out so that when you're still working your threads, you're not going to catch that without realizing it, and then you'll be able to hold on to this and save what you've already done and not mess up. Does that make sense? I hope. Okay, so now you're going to add a thread. Okay, so since I still got some thread here, I don't have to redo anything. Now, what I like to do, I do one of two things. Okay, so I've got my tail where I've just come out. Okay, so this is where I want to be. This is where my next bead goes, right here. Okay, so I need to have my thread coming out right up here. Okay, so my thread needs to come out of this bead right there. Okay, so what I like to do, since I know that my thread is going to come out right there, I'm going to go in right here. Okay, and I'm going to not pull all the way. I'm going to work on this end of the thread. So my longest thread, my new piece, is going to hang way over here out of the way. Okay, and what this is going to do is give me a few inches to work with to tuck this end in. Okay, so here is my working thread already ready to go, right in the right spot. And now I'm going to work this tail in just like I ended that one over here. Okay, so I'm going to go on the diagonal, and I'm holding on to my tail. I'm holding on to my long tail that's going to be my new working thread, so it's out of the way. And I've got a few inches on the needle to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch across, and I'm going to anchor it in. Now I'm going to turn, and this is just what I did, just exactly the same way that I ended off the other tail. Up and down diagonally, one bead diagonal, one bead back on the previous. Okay, and when I get to this point, I'm going to turn. And you want to stagger where you turn, or else you're going to have a big buildup. Okay, so let's jump down to this row and go back to that row. I know the dark bead is kind of hard for you. Whoops, kind of hard for you to see it, but I'm trying. Okay, and I'm going to turn again. Okay, so see where I'm coming out. I'm turning again. And more diagonal. So now I'm going to work on these 2 rows. Back into this one. Like so. Okay, so it's 1, 2, oh, 1 more up. Alright, so going back again. I like to do 3. You don't have to, but I like to because most of my pieces get worn and you want to have it as sturdy as possible. So I like to do 3 turns. Okay, there we go. It's as simple as that. And now you pick up the long end and you start working again. Okay, so okay, Fran has a question. How many beads across and how many rows do you suggest to bind off and end? Okay, I like to do 3 turns, which generally will mean 3 rows. Okay, depending on your piece, depending on the transparency of your beads, if you can really see your thread, you have to be really careful where you go. So you have to, it's a judgment call, okay, basically. You have to pay attention to your beads. Let the beads tell you what to do. Because if you've got some really transparent beads, you're going to see your thread. So you have to pay attention to where you put it. Now generally I will do 5 beads wide to end. Sometimes more, sometimes less. There again, your beads have to tell you what to do. Okay. Basically, that's all there is to starting and ending. That's the easiest way to add a thread. The simplest thing to do is go backwards, in other words. So put your thread where you're going to come out, leave your long end, work in a small tail, just exactly like you ended off the other thread. Okie dokie. Let's see. Oh, now we need to do takeoff strip. All right, let's talk about the takeoff strip. Okay, for the takeoff strip, what we're going to do, and I've already got a needle threaded for that, so I'm going to move this guy. And I've got my tray of beads over on the side because the camera wants to focus on it instead of my hands. Okay, so here is the takeoff strip. And our Mitzi has done a wonderful video on how to make the takeoff strip onto the ruler. Okay, this is going to be a very, very nice thing to have. Yes, I am recording. Yes. Yeah, Ninja Bear. Oh yeah. Yeah, this piece down here was the start of a polar bear tapestry, and the colors, I wanted to change the colors, and so instead of taking it apart, I just started another one, which I still haven't shown you guys. Okay, I'll get him out. Okay, and this is his eyes. So that was what was left of him, and so he's Ninja Bear. Okay. All right, so on the takeoff strip, what you want to do, and I have this on my bead website. Let me pull out the sheet here. Okay, so this takeoff strip basic instructions are on my bead website, which is beadwhitehead.com, and it has the pictures and everything on how to do a basic takeoff strip. So what you want to do is you make your takeoff strip and you count 5 or 10 beads, and use a contrasting color to mark. So you're doing your peyote stitch just the same way, and then you're going to use it to start your new strip. Rather than having the beads wonky in your hand like when we first started, the takeoff strip makes it easier to get started. You can just start beading. You don't have to worry about the wonkiness. You don't have to worry about tension too much because you already got your tension in your takeoff strip. So then when you start your piece, you work your piece up to a certain point, and then you can take off the starter strip. Okay? All right, so that's on the internet as well. Hang on a second. We're having drippy nose time, sorry. 1 second. Hope that wasn't too loud. Okay. So, when you do a takeoff strip, it's really, really easy to get started. Most of your work is already done. This one, I have just added 5 bead wide strips so that I have an easy way to count how many I start with. So if I want to do a bracelet, okay, you thread your needle and you put a stopper bead on the end. Just tie your stopper bead on like we did to start. Okay. Then what we're going to do is, I probably want to use like the center because it's going to be easier to hold it. Okay, so I know I'm going to want to center my piece. So I'm going to do a bracelet. So it's 12 beads wide. So what I'm going to do is center it so that my 12 bead wide bracelet is going to be in the middle of the ruler and it's going to be easier to hold. Okay, so I've got, this is a piece of scrap thread. Okay, because this is going to get discarded in the end. This is not going into your finished piece. All right, so you put your stopper bead on the end. Determine where you're going to come out on your ruler. Okay, so I know I need 12 beads wide, so I'm just going to start, pick a place to start and anchor my thread about a 1/2 inch away from there. So if I'm going to start over here, I'm going to anchor my thread over here. So all I'm going to do is run it, let's run it up here, run it into one of the beads over here. Okay, so there's my stopper, and that's going to be cut off later. Okay, so there it is. Now what I want to do is come out of the bead next to where I'm going to start. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up right here. Okay, so what I've got is, I'll show you this. Okay, here's my stopper bead. Here's my, where I'm coming out, and here's the thread running across it. So I'm not worried about this because this whole thread is going to be cut away later. Okay, so now I'm going to anchor my thread in my fingers like I usually do. I'm going to pick up a bead and I'm going to start my pattern. So I know in our heart bracelet we're going to need a solid 6 beads in the light color. So there's my first bead. That's 1. Okay. Here's 2. I'm trying not to bump the camera, but with these little beads, it's kind of an awkward position. It's 3. And watch your beads, cull them as you go. Some beads are more perfect than others. I'm a Delica snob. I love Delicas. That's mostly what I have. It's 5. And 6. And here again we are following the graph. So there are 6 beads across the first row. Okay? Nothing is wonky. Tension is good. Everything's great, right? Okay, now what you want to do is, about a 1/2 inch away, you're going to go through another bead. Okay, you're going to grab another stopper bead, and this is usually something I'm not using in the actual piece so that you can see it. Sometimes it's red beads. Okay, and what you want to do is tie this bead onto your thread at this point. And you have to pay attention to your tension a little bit. So I like to go through it before I tie. I go through it and pull it down, and then go through another bead on the starter strip, and this just anchors it so your first row is not going to be loose. Okay, and then go back into the starter bead and tie it, and that just anchors it so that your first row is not going to be wonky on you. And then sometimes I'll just run that thread out of the way because I'm just going to clip it off. Okay, so then once that's done, clip that off, and then you have your first row of whatever you're working on. Okay, then you're going to pick up a real piece of thread, the thread you're going to actually work with, all right? And I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to stretch it like I normally would stretch. So what I do is when I pick the thread up, wrap it around my finger because I know I'm going to stretch it, then I'll go ahead and get my length. Hello, runaway thread, and clip it off. And then I'm going to go ahead and stretch my thread. Wrap around, stretch. I generally will do it in 3 sections. Don't ask me why, I just do. Okay, all right, now. Okay, needle again and thread, so I'm going to pinch it between my fingers. You can't see the thread. Put the eye of the needle over it, sneak up on it, and thread. And I learned that technique from watching lap quilting with Georgia Bonesteel years and years ago, in the 80s, I think. But she's the one that taught me how to do that threading, how to thread the needle. Okay, so now we've got our real thread that we're going to work with. And so we're going to put a stopper bead on it. But this time, we're not going to tie it. We are going to loop through. So I leave about 6 inches because you want enough to work with on this end that you can end into your beadwork. So in other words, this tail is going to get looped through. Well, heck, I just unthreaded the bead because I went the wrong way. All right, you've got your 6 inches to thread with. Then you're going to loop through the bead a couple of times. So just a loop. And one more time, and try not to catch or snag the thread because you're going to undo this. Okay? All right. So there's your stopper bead. There's your tail to weave in later. Okay? And you're going to put this somewhere in your starter strip. It doesn't matter where, because you're going to undo it and weave it in later anyway. So you're going to put that there. And now you're going to go over to your start of your piece and do the next row of beads. So there are 6 white beads in the pattern. So I still got control of my thread. I've still got control of it. Trying to stay in the camera. Sorry, guys. All right, and I'm going to work over here now. Okay, so my second row. So I'm going to come in the side of the bead where I'm supposed to be, and it's going to be a little wonky until I put that next bead to it because it's loose. This thread is loose over here, so it's going to want to slide, but that's okay because the next row is going to catch it. So we know that that bead is going to go right there. So that's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. We'll catch it next time around. So pick up your next bead and you work your way across. So what you've done basically is your first row with a scrap thread just to anchor your beads. This is your real working thread. So now you're catching those beads. Oops. You're catching those beads so that when you pull it off the ruler, off the starter strip, they're caught into the work. And I think that's 6. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. All right, now I'm going to turn. This is even count, so it's the easy turn. Got caught on the stopper bead over here. Get that out of the way. All right. Tighten it up. Keep going. Keeping control of the thread. Luckily my static factor isn't too bad today. Else I'd be getting out that thread conditioner. And we are just about done for today. Does anybody have any questions? Now I need to pull that loose bead back up here. And I'm going to go through that loose one, and he's going to get back in line where he's supposed to be. Oops, it got tangled. Okay, tangled. Hang on. Gotta bring it up here so I can see. Okay, got him. There we go. Alright, so turning and going back the other way. Alright, any questions? Now's the time. All these excess tails out of the way here. We've started, we've ended threads, we've started threads, or started the starter strip, using the starter strip. So when you make your starter strip, how wide you make it depends on, you know, what things you might like to do. So you'll have to kind of think about that and choose for yourself. I mean, if all you're going to make is bracelets, then you obviously don't need to do a huge piece. Okay, so there we go. Do I always use Nymo? Silamide? Yes, I have used Silamide. That's fine too. Yeah, any bead thread is fine. And like I said on the web, on my blog, you can even use dental floss if you're really in a pinch. Because what's dental floss? It's basically the same thing as Nymo. It's just a little bit bigger, is all. So you have to be careful about that. Okay, Fran is on her phone and it's using the auto type and it's giving her problems. Yes, Fran's phone has a mind of its own. Yeah. Okay, so hey Jean. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go. It's been almost 2 hours and I really need to go get something to eat. And I think I've just about covered everything I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions, you can tweet me. If you're really having problems, I'm willing to Skype with you. Just have to remind me to turn the darn thing on. I always forget. So Ninja Bear and I say, see you later. And thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. And y'all have a good day. Oh, waving to camera. Bye-bye. That was awkward.